Hey everybody, hope you're having a good start to your week and hope you're ready to study the Gospel of John, perhaps the most profound piece of writing in the entire Bible, and yet with the simplest of language. You'll notice that John doesn't have a very large vocabulary compared to, say, maybe Hebrews, and yet his theology is no less rich than really anything we encounter in all of Scripture. John is an interesting book on so many levels, and it's impossible to cover them all here in this brief video. But this is my son, Emmett, and Emmett's name is from a Hebrew word that is translated sometimes as truth, sometimes as trustworthiness, sometimes as faithfulness. It's used of God's faithfulness to His people. It's a defining characteristic of God. And in Exodus 34, you know the story well, no doubt, when Moses wants to see God's glory, and God says, "No man can see my face and live," but He allows Moses from a cleft of the rock to see Him pass by. And as he does so, Moses can't see a full glimpse of God, but he can hear who God is, and God proclaims His name twice, Yahweh, the one who is, the one who always is. That verb from which Yahweh comes, it's timeless. It's the one who was and is to come, that comes from the name of Yahweh, actually. And so He proclaims His name, and then he tells a little bit about Himself, and He says He's full of loving kindness and faithfulness. These Hebrew words, loving kindness is hesed, faithfulness is emet. That's where Emmett's name comes from. And this concept, and really this scene with God, who no one can see and live, and yet who proclaims His character, really helps us to understand who Jesus is. So I'm going to just read part of John's prologue, his first 18 verses, which is really the seed from which the tree of the rest of that gospel grows. So this is John 1:14. And the Word, that is Jesus, became flesh and literally tabernacled among us, taking us back to Exodus imagery and the tabernacle that God brought the people out to. And we have seen His glory, that glory that was in the tabernacle. We're really seeing these Exodus images come through. Glory as of the only unique one from the Father, full of grace and truth. These two words are used sometimes in the Old Testament to translate those two key Hebrew words, hesed, loving kindness, and emet, truth, or trustworthiness, or faithfulness. Full of grace and truth. So we're seeing these concepts come up. Jesus tabernacled among us. He is, as we continue to read in John, He's the temple. Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll raise it up. And He's talking about the temple of His body. Full of grace and truth. John bore witness concerning Him and cried out, saying, "This man was Him of whom I spoke. The one who comes after me has become before me," and the idea is He's preeminent, because He was before me. "For from His fullness we all have received, indeed, grace in place of grace." And this phrase is tough to translate. It's translated different ways, but I think it should be grace in place of grace. That's the most straightforward way to read it. John seems to explain what he means by that, grace in place of grace. What do you mean? For the law came through Moses, and of course Moses, as he experienced God, experienced that He was a God of grace and faithfulness, of loving kindness and faithfulness, grace and truth. The law was given through Moses, and then he says, literally, the grace and the truth came through Jesus Christ. We don't translate it that way with those articles because that could be misleading in English. It could sound like, oh, the grace, like the only grace. But what it means really is the grace and the truth par excellence. The hesed, the emet par excellence came through Jesus Christ. God, who revealed Himself, has now fully revealed Himself through His Son. And so, verse 18, no one has ever seen God. the only unique God, the one who is in the bosom of the Father, he has made him known. And so Jesus, who is in some mysterious way God himself, who perfectly displays who God is, that's what this gospel is about. And when Jesus goes to the cross, he exhibits God's grace and truth, or God's grace and his faithfulness to the most extreme degree. This is who God is. This is who he's always been. And through Jesus, we know this most fully. So, hope you'll enjoy studying this book and considering it this week. This week you will need to be wrapping up your gospel chart, so just make sure you have a helpful chart there that lays out some of the key features of each gospel in a helpful way that could be useful in ministry. And you probably hear Emmett crying here. Also your test will be this week, and so you have a study guide available that you should be able to access. If you have trouble getting to anything, be sure to let me know, and of course let me know if I can help in any way. So, hope you enjoy studying the Gospel of John this week.